I'm listening.
Hello, viewers, and welcome again to Discovering Truth. And I am Pastor Forbes from the Gateway Abiding Word Ministries here in the Gambia. Well, we have started our 31st year of this program. We started way back 30 years ago, June 1996, and last month, June 2026, we celebrated 30 years. So in this month of July, we have started our 31st year, and who knows, we may be able to do another 30. I will be in my 90s then. I'm not sure whether that will be happening, but just to say that at least we have started year 31, and I'm sure in 9.5 years' time, I'll come and say we've done 40 years. Loads of lessons to learn, loads of truth to uncover and unpack, but the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's not knowledge that you acquire, it's what you assimilate and apply practically. It's no use having a lot of information. We have books, we have libraries, a lot of us download a lot of things. You go to college, you do an online course, you go to school, something is recommended, you write it down, sometimes you even buy it, but you never open it. But resource gathering and mobilization is good, but internalizing and applying it is what will make you a better person. Let me put it this way. Jesus Christ said, our Messiah, our Savior, the Al-Masihu himself, he said, and you will know the truth, and the truth that you know will make you free. Some translations say will set you free, will liberate you, will emancipate you from all kinds of bondage that has kept us down. So it's not just knowing the truth as per objective knowledge, but knowing the truth as per subjective knowledge. And that's why discovering this truth has been of great importance to us as a nation and to many people around the world, because in 30 years, a lot of people have been helped. As I said, I have met people who have told me that we used to watch you on our black and white TV. I was a child. So they must have been maybe 4 or 5. Now they are 35. Some of them are married and even with children. And I'm grateful to Almighty God for the grace, the strength, and for all of us together who make this program work. From time to time, we bring topical issues or generic issues, all based on our interacting with truth, confronting ourselves with issues where we are not really where we should be, looking at what is called the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror and making the adjustments, recalibrating ourselves to make sure that our lives count as God wanted us to count. Today I want to start a series which I've done in the past many years ago, but it's of importance to us, especially as a country in this year where in the next 4.5, 5 months, we will be going to the polls to elect a president for our country. And as you know, most of us know that elections democratically go in one of two ways. People either vote for continuity because maybe they feel they are okay where they are okay with what they have, the status quo must be maintained, or people vote for change. So voting is always continuity or change. And when people vote for change, it's because they feel, well, the status quo is not delivering the goods, they're not delivering the promises, we want to change. And sometimes it might even be that, well, this lady president has done well, this male president has done well, but just to keep democracy going, because we know that one person cannot be the sole repository of all the knowledge for our country, small country, 2.5, 2.8 million people, but it's time for change. And so we vote for either continuity to maintain the status quo, or for change. We want fresh hands, a breath of fresh air. We want to recalibrate and see what's going to happen. Both, of course, have their consequences. Both have their implications, but that is what democracy gives to us, with one person exercising their franchise and their vote to say, this is what I want. Because we are doing that at the highest level of the nation's desire to self-actualize as a country and to beat our chest and say, yes, the Gambia is not just in the Committee of Nations and the Commonwealth, part of the global community and village, but we are really punching our weight and even beyond our weight. It means that we need proper leadership. We need correct leadership. We need the right leadership. And it's not just political leadership. It's for us in religion. It's for people in every sphere of endeavor and enterprise. There has to be leadership, because leadership gives direction. Leadership provides vision. Leadership gives guidance. Leadership makes a people become galvanized towards a purpose. And therefore, leadership must be qualified with certain characteristics that we can all see and say, okay, because of this, I will choose this leader, I will choose that leader, I will not choose this leader, I will not choose that leader. I will cast my vote for this leader, I will refrain from voting for that leader. And of course, sadly, in the very extreme of scenarios, we have people who abstain from voting because in their thinking is 2 or 3 thoughts. One, my votes don't count anyway. In Africa, elections are not elections, they are selections. They are already predetermined by the incumbency or by sometimes regional bodies, sometimes continental bodies, and global political powers and interest groups. The global political powers and business groups feel, well, look, of these 3 people, of these 7 people, of these 5 people, I think we can trust this one. We can work with this one. She's easygoing. She understands how to. I remember many years ago, we had this U.S. ambassador here called Ambassador Pamela White, and she had an interview, I think it was then with Fatou Camara, if I remember very well. And she said she met with ex-President Jammeh, and in their exchange, because she was very frank, as he was also, and she said she advised him that he must learn to speak West, that the West is a language, that there's a way you talk and the West is happy. There is a way you talk and the West is not happy. And you can imagine she was bold and frank to say it, and that is so true. Sometimes you have to learn to speak tribe. You have to learn to speak religion. You have to learn to speak corruption. You have to learn to speak so many things. But if we want what is right, and we are not going to abstain from voting because we feel my vote does not matter, or nobody amongst all these 20 people, 14 people, 4 people, 2 people really carries my views of how a nation should be run and my aspirations to become a true patriotic Gambian, I'm going to withhold my vote. That becomes a very disappointing thing. And I hope that would not happen. And I pray that in the build-up, in terms of hopefully debates, engagements, press conferences, rallies, and maybe institutions that might be able to call 2, 3, 4 political leaders together and say, look, let's hear from you. I would like to be a part of that. I'd love to do that. I remember 2021, it was Paradise TV and Mr. Haruna Drame, and we had those exchanges at the American International University Hall, and it was good. Of course, it was a startup. I hope Mr. Drame himself is listening, and things like that can go up so that we get a feel. As it said in English, you hear from the horse's mouth. And with discernment and open forum questionnaire, you can know where to go. So the whole thing boils on leadership. 2 sentences have been made. One we are very familiar with. I think it's Shakespearean or so. The phrase that says, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown or that bears the crown. because leadership, true leadership, is far from easy. True leadership has certain qualitative characteristics that really make the true seeker of the office, the function and the position and the responsibility of leadership run away in the opposite direction and not grab it because they're thinking position rather than work. The second sentence may not be as globally known, but it goes like this: everything falls or rises on the leader. In other words, if something goes wrong in the Gateway Abiding God Ministries, the press, everybody will say, Pastor Forbes. Don't forget about the people who go there. And sometimes even we ourselves, the people, if everything goes right, it is us. If everything goes wrong, it is the leader. Now you put these two sentences together, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, and everything falls and rises on the leader. You understand that those who desire leadership, those who aspire to leadership, must sit down and think a lot and ask themselves why. And in this series, we will be exploring questions like that and other questions. The Bible has several chapters in the books in this 66 books of the Bible on leadership. Moses' leadership, Prophet Samuel's leadership, the leadership of David, the leadership of King Solomon, the leadership, of course, the Messiah himself, Jesus Christ, the leadership of Paul, the leadership of a lady called Deborah, the leadership of a queen called Esther. There are many, 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 many leadership stories in the Bible. And when you center them down, there are a few characteristics that are important. And we will look at some of them. We'll look at as many as we can as we do this series. So I'm not too sure how long it will go for. 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts, 6 parts. I don't know. But let's just explore. And I pray and trust that both those of us who are going to vote as voters and those who aspire to be leaders will listen. And if they don't listen and you listen, record it and send it to them. And you can download it from my YouTube channel, Discovering Truth with Pastor Forbes. You'll see, you can download it or you can forward it to them and say, listen to this, listen to this. So there are certain basic understandings from God himself, who is the creator of all of us, on what human leadership should be like. And the first character, qualifying character I want to mention is a compound word. We've heard it before, we use it, and that should be one of the first tests of everybody who wants to lead us. And the compound word is servant leader or servant leadership. So if you juggle your brain a little bit, you will conclude that if there is something called servant leadership, then there might be something also called master leadership. Master leadership is not recommended because the leader ought to be a servant. In intent, in purpose, as I believe the lawyers say, it must be manifestly seen to be done. This person, male or female, this group of people must be seen to be people who have been serving, have served, are serving, and are desirous of serving. The ethos of their lifestyle must show servanthood, not chest-beatinghood, not manmaham, not ekatimbaga, not lifting of shoulder, not elitism, not silver spoon, but servant. And even if such a person happened to be born in elitism, in great pedigree, with silver spoon, as they desire and choose to be leader of a number of people, directing their choices, directing their desires, directing their hopes and their aspirations, and not dashing them. Somewhere in their growth, they should have encountered a leadership system that tells them you are the servant of the people and not the boss, not the master, not the leader. Now, I do understand that for all of us, when we come into leadership, there are the strings of leadership that are designed to make us important. The cars we drive, the people who open the doors, maybe the convoys, the advance party, and the protocol, the security, the radio phones, and macho guys, in black. And even when the place is dark at night, they are still wearing dark goggles and all that, and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, those do not make you a leader. Over the last 2 weeks, most of us, I think everybody in the Gambia knows, we had a great gospel campaign here with evangelist Doug Heward Mills from Ghana. It's his second time coming. He came in 2012 and he came this year. And we had a great time. And the numbers we have received by the drone footage, on the last night, there were about 30 to 31,000 people in the buffer zone. It grew from 16,000 to 23 and grew by the last night, you could tell. So it was successful, by all means. 2 days of those campaigns were geared towards leadership development training. And they asked if they could use the Gateway, our church. I said, that's fine, as we did in 2012. On the second day of the 2 days, when I walked in there, my chair where I normally sit in church, somebody, another church leader, was sitting on it. So I sat somewhere in the middle at the back, enjoying myself. And after some time, the crusade director came, no, Pastor Forbes, you must sit. No, I said, but somebody's already, it's all right. He said, no. And he made a fuss, and I had to sit in front. The truth is, it didn't matter to me. Because let's call a spade a spade. I could have been watching it online. So what's the fuss about where I sit? I could have been watching it in my car. What's the fuss about my chair? And where I sat, I could hear everything. There's no fuss about positioning and placement. And when you see people who want to insist that I must sit in the front, get me a chair in the front, there is something very questionable about their leadership style. In fact, in the Bible, and folks, I keep telling you, get one, buy one, ask me, I'll give you one, or download one, get a PDF. There is a verse somewhere in the book called Proverbs, after the Psalms, that says when you go to a place, it's better you sit at the back and then let people notice you and say, oh my gosh, and they usher you to the front, to the places of honor, than you go and flex and sit in the front and maybe they tell you, get up. This place already was pre-designated for somebody else. A few days ago on Sunday, we had a Thanksgiving to come back and say thanks to God for the gospel campaign. Place was full. When the program was sent to me, they had my name there as the person to preach, to speak. And I thought, number one, I was tired. I was fighting fatigue. Number two, you are using the church, the Gateway. Why use the Gateway and then I must preach? No, sometimes the visibility is too much. So I told them, no. Please, I don't want to be involved. And then they said, no, but you have to do something. So I said, okay, just put the name Abiding Word, because I may not be the one to do it. Pastor Tiana may not be the one to do it. Minister Andrew Reeves will be the one to do it. Minister Daniel Chum will be. Anybody can do it. Because you must have that sense of servanthood. But if after the program I make a whole fuss, who sat on my chair? Nobody should sit there. No. And I went up on Sunday and I welcomed them to the church. I think I took 15 seconds to do it. And everyone was saying, no. I said, I was asked to come and do a welcome. And I go and sit down. I am not the focus of the attention. Servant leadership is very key if we're going to want to aspire to lead. Because regardless the trimmings of required security, protection and all that, if those things change me, then there's something about me. I was secretly desiring this thing. And from nowhere, this otherwise humble Pastor Forbes, this otherwise humble Mr. So, Minister So, lawyer So, doctor So, professor So, engineer So, architect So, agriculturist So, suddenly becomes an oppressor. And you wonder how. Because in the heart, servanthood was not there. I think one of the things we are all noticing, and I know there are views about it, the United Kingdom in the last 10 years has now had about 7 prime ministers. Somebody said to me, it's good. And I said, why? The person said, because the system is working. And I paused, and I'm sure you are pausing. In the Bible, we'll say Selah, S-E-L-A-H, exclamation mark. Stop and think. Will it work in our own setting? Or are we grappling with people who have forgotten where their house is, which street they live in, because of where we voted them to be years ago? One of the qualitative characteristics of somebody who's aspiring to leadership is that that person, those people, must have a servant leader heart. And ladies and gentlemen, it is easy to tell. You just have to go back and look at the track record and see whether this person has been a servant in what they do. The second thing I want to talk on, and I'll stop there, is sacrifice. The period of 22 years that was difficult for us as a country, eventually, I remember the ex-head of state once saying in Wolof, Kubuga Jail State House, na isi Buckingham. Translated in English that if you want to remove me from office and become the president, bring your breath from your nostrils and put it on the ground. In other words, I sacrifice my life for this country. Well, posterity has a way of judging. And posterity can be nice and be harsh. So posterity has answered that question. For those of us who say we have sacrificed for the country, have we really sacrificed? If before I was a leader, I had a bank account that had $6,000 and I had a fourth-hand car and I lived in a rented premises. If 1 year after I become president, 2 years after I become the leader, 3 years after I become the leader, I not only have property here but abroad, I not only have cars but I have exotic cars. If in that short time I can boast that not even my grandchildren will suffer again in life, then the question is, is sacrifice a qualitative characteristic in your life? Or is it just a farce? Because a true leader sacrifices. For those of us who want to be leaders in any way, shape, or form, do a sacrifice. Because, sacrifice is felt. Sacrifice pinches. Sacrifice pains. Sacrifice will call you to shout. Sacrifice is shown on your face. It shows. It's palpable. So let me end with just these two, and I have more to come. As we are thinking of voting, as people are aspiring and campaigning and talking to us and doing so many things, are they servant leaders? That question must be asked and they must be confronted. What's the track record? Are they people that sacrifice for others? Sometimes I hear people say, I left a great international job and I came to sacrifice for this country. And 3 years later, we are wondering whether the sacrifice was a sacrifice or whether you are milking the country. It's a sacrifice. The two will go together. Everybody who is a sacrificing leader will be a servant leader. And everybody who is a servant leader, sacrifice will be seen in their lives openly, especially in this small country of ours, where Nyepa Hamsen Bopa, Banjul Sala Kabinetla, Room and Palo, we all know each other. I'm going to stop here. It promises to be an interesting, maybe intense series. But again, it's my country too. I love it. It's the only country I have. I only have one green passport. So for its good, for its prosperity, I bring this out to you. So this series is entitled Choosing the Right Leader. Until I come your way next week, by the special grace of God, this is Pastor Forbes saying, may God keep us, and may this spark some decisions even within the different political parties and independent candidates and all that. And let's ask ourselves as Gambians. Because when you vote, when I vote, sacrifice and servant leadership, it will have nothing to do with tribe. It will have nothing to do with even party. It will have nothing to do with religion. I'll be looking for a servant leader and somebody who sacrifices. God keep us all until we do part 2. Have a great day. Discover